Welcome to lesson 1 of our 0xSplits series, where we are going to be showing you how to build trustless sharing of income on-chain in both a code-based solution as well as a no-code solution. This is lesson 1, and in lesson 1 we're going to be talking about hyperstructures. 0xSplits is a hyperstructure, and in this lesson we're just going to be talking about high level why hyperstructures are important. To get started, we're going to talk about an article by Jacob, one of the co-founders of Zora, which is the NFT hyperstructure. And we won't read the whole thing. I will link this in the lesson notes. But the entire internet is being rebuilt in the form of Web3 with crypto and the blockchain at its core. We have the opportunity to restructure the utilities of the internet of the past 40 years outside of private control and create entirely new ones that simply weren't possible before. For creators, what hyperstructures unlock is, and what Web3 unlocks is digital ownership. Your art, payment, and relationships, you can have ownership of all of those things. Today's focus is on 0xSplits, which is a hyperstructure for kind of payment relationships. And building on top of this hyperstructure will enable, we'll talk about the definition in a couple seconds of the attributes that make a hyperstructure, but it allows you to have true ownership of these royalties and of these splits, whether you're making a generative art PFP and you want to share your royalties with your designer, your engineer, your marketer, the CEO, and you want to share every single time one of those NFTs get bought to share that on-chain on a hyperstructure, you can. This is going to be able to split income on-chain, and it is simple enough for friends to use, and it's secure enough for anons. So now let's talk about the definition of what is a hyperstructure. The same article, which again is listed in the notes, I highly recommend reading through it. Unstoppable. The protocol can not be stopped by anyone. It runs as long as the underlying blockchain exists. It's free to use. There is a 0% protocol fee wide, 0% protocol wide for fee, and it runs exactly at gas costs. It's valuable. It accrues value, which is accessible and exitable to owners. It's expansive. They're built-in incentives for participants on the protocol, permissionless, universally accessible, and censorship resistant. Builders and users cannot be deplatformed. It's positive sum, creates a win-win environment for participants to utilize the same infrastructure, and it's credibly neutral. The protocol is user agnostic. I'm not going to read through the whole article, but instead let's talk about 3 hyperstructures that exist and why these are hyperstructures. First one we'll talk about is the hyperstructure of Uniswap. Uniswap is a protocol that is peer-to-peer. It's designed for exchanging cryptocurrencies, ERC20 tokens, on the Ethereum blockchain. The protocol is implemented as a set of persistent, non-upgradeable smart contracts designed to prioritize censorship resistance, security, self-custody, and to function without any trusted intermediaries who may selectively restrict access. There are currently 3 versions of Uniswap, and we don't need to really talk about those. The biggest points that make Uniswap a hyperstructure: it's non-upgradable, which means that there are no controls in place that would drastically change the functioning of the protocol. They're built on smart contracts, so they're built on top of an unstoppable blockchain. And the fact that they're non-upgradable means that the functionality that you get today is going to be the same functionality that you're going to get 10 years from now. These are designed to prioritize censorship resistance, which means that nobody can take it down and nobody can censor you. It's equally accessible. Security, self-custody, and access without any trusted intermediaries who may selectively restrict access. The next hyperstructure we'll take a look at is the Zora hyperstructure. Again, one of the co-founders of Zora, Jacob, is the one who wrote this article, and they are building a hyperstructure in the form of Zora, which is the marketplace protocol for the internet. They are hiring as well, but Zora is built with all of these principles in mind to be the underlying bedrock that other structures can be built on top of. This image up here I think is a great image just to be able to see kind of what the end vision is. This is a scale with the Empire State Building drawn at scale, and then the hyperstructure, where you can see the central infrastructure is used as the infrastructure for multiple different types of businesses and different facets of society to be built on top of. So you've got Uniswap, you've got Zora. Both are unstoppable, both are credibly neutral, both are entirely free to use, and the final one is 0xSplits. 0xSplits is a public good that's free to use. The protocol runs exactly at gas cost and charges no fees whatsoever. It takes the form of a hyperstructure, meaning that it can run free forever without any maintenance or trusted third parties. We believe splits introduce a novel way to fund public goods, so it's being tested on itself. If you'd like to support 0xSplits, all you have to do is add donations.0xSplits.eth as a recipient in the splits that you create. This contract is itself a split, which gives back to the communities that have supported protocol development to date. That is everything about hyperstructures. I'm going to include links to this Uniswap documentation, the 0xSplits documentation, as well as the hyperstructure doc in this lesson. And this is going to lead us into the next lesson, lesson 2, 0xSplits. We'll talk about the 0xSplits hyperstructure more before we branch off into our code-based solution and our no-code solution. Both of these will be project-based tracks to show you how to use the 0xSplits protocol. If you've got any questions, reach out to me on social media. You can find me at sweetman.eth on all social media sites. This is sweetman.eth, signing off.